Hey everybody, happy Friday. Hopefully all my microphone is on and everything. Let me know if you can hear me. Oh my goodness. It the sun has not been shining for days. Anybody else get snow this week? We got snow in Texas and I was so excited to see it because the kids did not get snow last time, but like 5 miles north of us they got to see snow. And the kids have rarely ever seen snow that they would remember. So it snowed on Wednesday. No snow, just gloom. Yeah, it's gloom. It's gloom as well. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. um, you got snow in Tennessee. Sun hasn't been shining here either, but I'm in Washington State. So, yeah, so that's normal, right? When we were looking at where we were going to move next, I was like, oh, Seattle would be so cool. I bet Seattle is so neat. And then I was like, oh, does the sun not come out there for long periods of time? I think that would not be good for me. I get very bad seasonal depression when it comes. Oh, I bet it's gorgeous in Colorado. So nice. Northwest Georgia snow. So you probably had the same system coming across that we had. So the kids, like Evie was out of school most of last week for sickness. And then Monday they had no school because of President's Day. And then she went to school on Tuesday. And I went in and read to her class, and they have a class pet that's called Spunky, but it's not an actual pet, probably because they're like, we don't trust 4 and 5-year-olds to take home a pet that's actually real. So it's a little hedgehog that's fake, but it comes with like a hedgehog playground thing, like a big plastic thing that you can play with the hedgehog in. Like it's meant for real, like hamster probably. But anyway, so at least she got to go and get the hedgehog and came home with it. And then they were out of school on Wednesday. And so I just feel like this child has missed something like 20 days of school over pre-K 4, and I'm over it. I'm like, please go to school. I need you to go to school. Not that I don't love having her and that I'm not super grateful, but I also have a lot of stuff to do, and it gets very difficult to get my work done when she's home because there's a lot of mommy time required when she's sick. So Michelle says, I love your cherry necklace. Isn't this so cute? So this was a gift. I finally went to pick up, maybe Saturday, we went to pick up my mail where I got lots of birthday gifts from all of you. Look at this gorgeous painting that Gail did. Like, how beautiful is this? I love it, and you can't even necessarily see it, but it's got gold, like gold glitter on it. It's so pretty, like just so beautiful. Oh, you love the nails. You know what? I couldn't decide if I like them or not. I'm like, I'm gonna try something a little bit. Somebody called them vampy, which I think is a good way to put it. I was like, I'm gonna try navy blue, kind of bluish tips. And I was like, I don't know if I like it, but then sometimes it grows on me. I don't know. George is like, I feel neutral about it. But we're just trying new things. I did the same exact nails all year last year, exactly the same every single time I went to get my nails done. And so this time I'm like, I changed the shape because I had square nails last year. And I think I like this shape better for my nails. I think it is more flattering for my hand shape. But I was like, I don't know if I like this, but you only live with it for a few weeks and then you get to move on. Oh, you had your nails done today too. But we had Evie home all day on Wednesday again, Evie and Andrew, and we were sitting in the living room all together, and George just goes, look outside. And we looked out, and it was so windy that the snow was blowing like full on sideways, but it was snowing here, and it snowed for maybe 2 hours, and it looked like it was going to accumulate a little bit. But I think because it was 50 degrees the day before, even though it was freezing all night, it just still melted. So it was fine. It was so funny because the chickens, we opened up the chicken coop and they came out and went right back in. They were like, oh, no, 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 honey, what is this weather? It was like negative something. No, I think it was 12 degrees, but it said it felt like -2. So, oh, your son was home Wednesday also from snow. Yeah, it definitely was snow. I did think of this, Starla, that you could match the tip color to the book you're working on. I think that is a good idea. So I set up, like I had mentioned, a new A5 binder to work on just like the readings in the Broken Chapter Society. And I did set up my planner to match the book cover, because the first book cover is purple, which I will be revealing somewhat shortly. But I started, I don't know, I started getting into blue. Like I put a baby blue cover on my watch, and then I bought a blue Stanley um, because Andrew got onto the Dodgers team, which is a really good team. They had to do tryouts, and I'm very excited for him. Hopefully he's going to have a really good season. But almost every team that he's played for so far over the last few years in baseball has been red. So it was like the Rebels, and then it was, I don't know, like sometimes they can choose names of like Atlanta Braves or, whatever, like professional baseball team names, or they can have, they can have just whatever team. Like I think he played for a team called the Rebels, and then he played for a team called the Raptors or something. No, that was Evie's team. I can't remember, but they can choose either way. But he got onto the Dodgers, and I just have such a good feeling about it because the Dodgers are historically a really good team and in our local little league. And so I had to go crazy because I'm like, I have literally no blue stuff. So I got blue nails, a blue Stanley. I got a blue tote bag that says Andrew on it. I got a Dodgers shirt that says like Dodgers mom. And it'll probably be like one season, but you know what? You go all out. He's like, please don't embarrass me. There was one t-shirt that said something like, that's my boy or something. And I was like, Andrew, I'm going to get this one. He's like, please don't. And I said, why? And he said, because people will think I'm really good. You're so excited because I'm a really good player. I'm like, you are a really good player. He's the cutest. I adore him. He's so smart. Please don't embarrass me. But I thought it was also kind of sweet that he was not afraid that I would be embarrassing, but that he would be embarrassed by not being as good as I portray him to be. And I told him, I'm going to be your cheerleader, and I will be out there shouting your name and cheering you on, whether you are first place or last place. And that is my job as your mom. And I will just love you no matter what. So that was really fun. So practices start this week and I'm excited for him. So I was kind of in a little blue state of mind, I think, but oh my gosh. Yes, Jenna, I'm just proud to see him trying. I'm proud to see him getting into some things and like caring about it. And at first, when he was starting to play baseball, we kind of had to force him into it because he just is the kind of kid who's reluctant to try anything, similar to me, that if he's not sure, he's going to be good at it. And he's always been that way. Evie is the kind of kid who will just jump in on anything. Like first of all, she never has met a stranger in her life. She makes friends everywhere she goes. Like we were at baseball tryouts and she made a new friend. Did she know her name? She had no idea, but they played together for 3 hours. And she's like, this is my new best friend. She just like, if we go to a McDonald's and we're 100 miles from home trying to be on a road trip and they have a little playground, Evie is going to make a new best friend. That is just her way. But she will jump on and she will try the slide and she will go down, and try the adventurous things. But Andrew is very different. Andrew is like, he has to see people going down that slide. He has to visit the slide 50 times. And then he will decide whether he thinks he's comfortable enough to go on the slide. And as a parent, it's always that hard thing between like wanting him to just be himself, but also being like, I'm going to give you a little push, because if you don't at least try, you're going to just spend your whole life being afraid of things. And that has been a challenge of parenting him a little bit, just because you have to sort of trust your intuition to see, does he need a push right now or does he not? Because there have definitely been times when I have pushed him a little bit, or George has pushed him, and then he never wants to try again. And that has been detrimental. So it's like, you just got to find that balance. So birth order might play a role. It might, and Andrew was an only child for 7 years, which is, kind of funny because Evie wants to sit next to me anytime we go out to eat, or we go sit somewhere, coffee shop, out to eat, anything, church. She wants to sit next to me always. And if she doesn't get to sit next to me, she's very sad. And Andrew was like, why don't I get to sit next to you? And I'm like, and George is over there like, why does no one want to sit next to me? I'm like, I want to sit next to you. But I said, You got to sit next to me every day for 7 years. So next time, hello, hello. I love that you get excited to be here. This is always fun. Yeah, it's like he just I told him after Evie is 7, then we can start alternating who gets to sit by me. Ah, yeah, I have heard the 5 year. So my sister, and my brother, my sister Chris is 5 years older than me, like to the day almost. My birthday is the 23rd of January. Hers is the 28th of January. So she turned 5 days after I was born. Andrew, or my brother, Douglas, was born in August, 5 years after me. So 5.5 years younger than I am. So we're almost exactly 5 years apart. And so in some ways, it's sort of like we're all first children, but at the same time, I'm definitely a middle child. And my brother is definitely a youngest child. But we are all 5 years apart. But yeah, they're sort of like you would think they would be, reset of birth order because they're 7 years apart. But I do think there are very distinct personality differences for sure. Oh my gosh. It could be stage of life. My youngest was like Evie until she turned 10. And then as a teenhood hit, she became more perfectionist. Yeah. And I wonder now how much social media will change that a little bit. This like idea of influencers, and like my kids are not on social media, but some of Andrew's friends are on social media. So he's 12, he'll be 13 this coming summer. And some of his friends have even gotten in trouble at school because of being on social media with each other, and arguments that break out outside of school. And I just think this is probably going to be a growing problem for kids that get phones really young. And I'm not judging anybody that has, like Andrew has had a phone literally most of his life. He just doesn't get access to anything but the apps that we give him access to. Like the main thing he does with his phone is play New York Times crossword puzzle games like Wordle and stuff like that. But we have given him a phone so that anytime we have a babysitter over, he knows how to call us in case there's any kind of problem with the babysitter. Or, I mean, obviously we have babysitters we trust, but just in case kind of thing. But phones and social media really changed the game for, a lot of kids, and how they might be less willing to appear imperfect. Or it's like, oh my gosh, we played silly games and had braces and did, silly stuff. And now kids that are just like 13-year-old girls just are so make-upped and perfectly coiffed and just like the best latest style. And I just think, I mean, they look beautiful, but then I think, are they missing out on some of that innocence? I don't know, something to think about. But you can't change the world, right? So you just do the best you can to be the best parent you can. So welcome to Friday Coffee Chat. I did just a Broken Chapter Society message a little bit earlier because I honestly thought about canceling Coffee Chat today, even though it's not like it takes a lot of energy out of me. And in fact, George always says you need to do it because it gives me energy to come hang out with you guys, like hanging out with my friends. Oh my gosh, this movie is epic. If you have not seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, highly recommend it. That actually would be one that I would love to rewatch now, but that's such a good movie. I was running around in the creek catching frogs at 13 too. Like I was not allowed to wear makeup at 13. But also we lived out in the woods, and I wasn't a tomboy by any means, but my sister was very much, and still is, but we definitely got dirty all the time. It has been so long since I've seen that movie. I know. Welcome to Coffee Chat. We're just going to chat about whatever. Adventures in Babysitting. That is one of my favorite movies. That is one of the best movies I feel like of my childhood is Adventures in Babysitting. The beginning of that movie, and then he kissed me, that montage of her getting ready for her date and then it getting canceled. Oh, that's so good. It's like truly, truly good. I love it. Love it. Maybe we need a movie. We need a movie session. Maybe we need a watch party coming up. But I posted in the BCS, like in the YouTube shorts earlier, because I did consider canceling just because I feel like I've been really struggling to. Is Cassie here? Is Cassie right here? She said it in the comments, and I was like, that's how I feel. But she said basically that it's that idea of knowing what you want to do and knowing what you should be doing, but just not being able to get the energy up. Emma Louise said it too, similar kind of thing. But I think there's this there's been kind of a disconnect for me. And even though I talked last week about building momentum and how I was going to get back onto momentum, I have really struggled this whole year to feel like I am getting my bearings under me, my foundation under me. And it's like I keep wanting to motivate myself and get moving. And then there are just days where I'm like, no, I literally cannot force myself to do anything. And oh, you guys actually just filmed a video about this. On Cassie's channel or where? Let me know. Oh my gosh, several people are feeling this. I'm fighting self-sabotage these days after a big win. Yes. It's like, where is this coming from, Carrie? I feel that way so often too. It's like when you start to feel momentum, you start to feel things are going well. And somebody, who was it now that said it? But somebody said it in the BCS comments that said that they saw something on TikTok about how a therapist was saying that sometimes self-sabotage is a way of saying the future is uncertain, the outcome is uncertain, so let me determine the outcome by going ahead and making myself fail. And that really did strike a chord with me because there are so many things about trying to pick yourself up and go for big goals and be your best version of yourself that bring back all that limiting beliefs. And yeah, long illness, like that really knocked me down. It knocked me down. But I just feel like that's been me every day. I want to write so bad, but the thought of it drains me. So I have had so many nights lately where I am like, I have my planners or I have my book that I'm ready to read, and I'm going to set it all up. And typically this would be me getting really excited. So I would like, it could be some nights it's like my planners and I'm going to plan for the week. Some nights it's like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make, like, I'm going to order all the things that I need to get together for HardyCon. Or I'm going to sit down and make outlines of all the videos that I need to redo or whatever. There's just like a million things that are going on right now. And I just sit down and feel like I could literally fall asleep. And in fact, I had 2 days this past week where I took a nap in the middle of the day, and I don't nap. And you guys know this. I don't nap because I get terrible headaches if I nap, and I could not keep my eyes open, literally could not keep my eyes open. And I just am like, even George came in and he's like, what's wrong with you? Because this is so not like you. And I can't explain it. I don't know. But yeah, maybe it's the energy of the world and being empathetic. This is a book I need to read. I do have it, but I haven't read it. I don't think that it's perimenopause. There's a handful of reasons, but people say this all the time, I feel like. But I have PCOS, and women with PCOS don't typically deal with perimenopause because perimenopause symptoms are just what people with PCOS have been dealing with since we were 15. I've had perimenopause since I was 15. And it's not typically something that happens, especially in your 40s, just because of the way that cycles go with PCOS. So I don't think that's probably it, but I could be anemic. That could be part of it. But I don't know the root cause other than it could be thyroid issues. That is also something my mom suffers from, is hypothyroidism, I think is what it is that she has. And so she has to take, medication for that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's one of those kind of things where I don't feel like it's necessarily like my health is bad. But so much more that I'm just in that self-sabotage place of like, I know that there are big things in my life that need to transform. And I have gotten my thyroid checked and it comes back with nothing, right? All my levels are normal. Yeah, shepherd's daughter, exactly. But nothing has been able to be found about it. That's why I think it's more of a mental health kind of thing for me. But I think that I'm in that place of like, I'm ready to change. I want to change. I can see the path in terms of being futuristic, number one strength. Like I can see the path of where I want to go and just cannot sort of force myself to walk the path. And I think that it is, yeah, I think this might be a big part of it because somebody did say, like, well, the sun hasn't been shining. And that definitely affects me more than I sometimes remember that it does. And I think it's also just there's been a lot of transition. Like I mentioned, my best friend Kelly, her mom died. And that has been a really hard thing this whole week. Maybe I didn't tell you guys that because I think it just happened. It's like, oh my gosh, it just happened on Sunday. Um, and it sucks that I can't be there. I want to fly out and be there with her, but I can't because she's got too much going on. She's like, I don't want you to come out here right now. And then, my friend Renee, uh, had died, not Renee, my previous assistant, but my friend Renee had passed away. There's just been a lot of that kind of transition. And then Renee has left and pursuing her own thing. So that's a lot of transition with, with my assistant and my business kind of shifting a little bit. And there's just been a lot of things that have been changing and shifting. There's some, a lot that goes on too, even though George's dad had his stroke last year in the fall, there's just still so much. Like for those of you that are caretakers or dealing with a parent that has gone into a nursing facility or other things like that, it's just like, and I'm not meaning to complain, just kind of commiserating, I guess. Just that I'm used to having all of George here in the house. It's like he's 100% our rock here of like helping. And now he has almost like he got another full-time job having to deal with his father's assets and get everything in control. And like, his dad calls him 8 to 10 times a day. And it's, he's not in a great situation, and no one who has a stroke and loses mobility is happy about it. And it's just like, I can't, I just wish we could just like, snap our fingers and make it be perfect. And I'm in the midst of it trying so hard to be like, okay, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to get back to joy and I'm going to do all these things. And it's just like, I feel the resistance at every turn. And so when that happens, what do? Like you can obviously seek to see if there's an actual health thing that is causing it. And I can continue to keep looking for that and see if that is the cause. I also can keep looking to see if there's ways that I can find better support or take some things off my plate, et cetera, et cetera. So that could be something that will help. But in the end, there is no one thing that's just going to be like, okay, now life is easy. And there's no one day where you're just going to be able to say, okay, well, I set up a new planner, or I did this one new thing, or I like spent one day having good self-care and now everything feels good again. It's like when you're really going through it and you have that sort of negative momentum of things just have been one thing after another, you kind of have to take the reins and say, I am now in control of my own momentum. And the hard thing about that is when you are in a depressive state, or you are in a place where you're being triggered a lot, or you're being like brought back to a lot of difficult things. It's hard. And I don't really want to get into it too much because I will really literally just start crying. But for anyone who read the comments last week's coffee chat, someone had mentioned something that was going on with a booktuber here and someone that had accused him of sexual assault. And I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm not criticizing anyone who mentioned it because it was, interesting to think about. But then it turned out that she said that she was lying. And that I think it just really sent me into a tailspin this past weekend. And so this is the part where I'm going to get more emotional. I will not talk about assault. But so, we will cancel that conversation too much. Because I don't want to get into that too much, but I will say, from my own emotional standpoint, when you are trying to change your own life and you see that like overall, by and large, my life is so good and so blessed, and I have gratitude list every single day. I have so many things that, oh no, just got back from 4 a.m. from a surprise IUD fail miscarriage. Hmm. Why is there so much grief going on right now? I'm so sorry. Oh man, the IUD didn't work. It's like, do your job. I'm so sorry. I feel like there's a lot of grieving going on right now. And so I don't want this. I know this is an escape kind of sometimes for us here on Fridays. So if this is getting too heavy, it's okay to ditch out if you want. Um, but maybe the energy of it needs to all, come through. But I just feel like sometimes when we are feeling like it's time for a level up, it's time for that next stage of who we know we're meant to be. Like you can be existing in this place where like I'm super grateful for where I am and I'm super grateful for the things that I have, but at the same time I still want more and I still want to be a better version of myself and I want to be more fulfilled. Like I know that it is sometimes a fallacy and sometimes a product of this like capitalistic society and other things that we live in that we're taught like to, live up to your potential, be your 100% self. And that isn't always possible. Like that's a lot of pressure. I just want to be happy too. And I think I am sometimes caught in this space of I want to be someone who lives up to my full potential and makes a big difference in the world. And sometimes the outer way to express that is like I talked about last week with the numbers and the external metrics and things like that. And so part of what I'm trying to work on is healing that need to have the outer validation. But when you're trying to heal something, you're going to get tested with it over and over again. And you kind of have to be like, healing is not a straight line. It's a wave, a big wave, right? And oh my gosh, this is so true too. Fear of the version I'm stepping into. Am I ready? Am I capable? Can I sustain it? Can I maintain it? That is a really, really good way to put it. And yeah, what is potential? That's true too, Taryn, is like, you know, is potential just a way of measuring where we are versus where we want to go? I don't know. It's a strange kind of feeling to be like, I know that I'm capable of more. I know that I'm not being 100% of what I could be in every moment. But then I also am coming to this realization as someone who has always been an achiever and as someone who's really hard on myself that like, why do I need to put that pressure on myself to be the very best version of myself at all times? Like that is not, in a way, that is just another version of self-sabotage because that is not really the goal to be like the perfect person at all times because it's an illusion. It doesn't really exist, right? And so I'm spending a lot of time, even in my dreams, exploring this. It's really interesting. I have been having the most vivid dreams, and it's actually waking my children up some nights. My dreams, which I know that sounds very woo-woo and crazy, but that's our life right now. Um, but I am in this process of changing my own mindset and my own beliefs about myself and about like I'm basically changing my entire goal setting system in my own brain in terms of trying to decide what does it mean to be fulfilled, what does it mean to be successful. And as we are trying to change our mind and our perspective on stuff, it's so natural to have past things that we have also faced that we thought we overcame come back to slap you in the face. You know what I mean? And that experience last week between my best friend's mom dying and the feelings that that brings up, because I also got a letter from my own mother, that like she sends me cards literally all the time telling me, to be a better person and stop being the worst of the world. But this time she sent like a 7-page letter. And I probably should not have read it, but I did. So between all of those kind of things, and then also this drama that was going on online, I ended up almost falling on my knees in the bathroom, and George and I talked till like 1 in the morning, with me pretty much sobbing, which is why I am so grateful that I have him, because he's just my person. But I feel like when I went, okay, multiple 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 things. Thank you, Taryn. That's so sweet. Uh, I'm trying to think. Sometimes she does watch YouTube because she mentions it. Like, why would you say this? You're such a liar kind of energy. Sometimes I will just write return to sender or rejected. I think refused is what you write. Sometimes I write that. But I hope that was me. I just heard about that was you. You're my person. I love you. I am trying to think the best way to explain this. You know how I actually saw this on Instagram earlier today and shared it over at Heart Breathings because uh, it just hit home. Was somebody had posted a quote or something um, that said, nobody else really knows everything you've had to overcome to get to this place, right? And that is true for every single one of us. Like, if you are lucky enough to have a sister or a best friend or a partner who has really witnessed a lot of your life, then that is a blessing. Um, you guys are all blessing to me because you guys are my witness to that as well. And we can witness each other in the comments on this. But, you know, I there's times like when I talk about some of those days that I got over post Italy, post what happened to me, assault, that I think, how did I even survive it? Like, I was so close to not survival. And I feel like there's a combination of that stuff, and I'm not bringing it back up because I'm reliving or going back to that place, but I'm bringing it up because there is still another level of healing that I am experiencing right now that I'm understanding for the first time, which is, or not even for the first time, it's just like layers of an onion that keep getting pulled off, and that's what healing feels like. It's just that continue to like, oh, that's why that's still holding on or hanging in there. But, growing up with my mother's thumb, like literally on me the whole time. And I did not realize that until I was 40 years old, that I was so controlled and so scared to like everything I did was for her. It was all just like, do you love me yet? Am I good enough? Did I prove this? And I worked hard for the last 5 years to win. Did I win enough? And it would still never be enough. It was never enough. And when I went to Europe, I had graduated from Vanderbilt. So I had lived in Nashville kind of by myself, but I still had that, that your parents are still a big part of your life when you're in college. They're still like your guardians at that age. And I taught school for 1 year. And when I went to Europe, I had quit teaching because I was dating a guy named Lance that he was in the military. He's a West Point graduate, and I thought we were going to get married. I thought he was going to propose to me. We had been dating for like 3 years, and I thought, okay, I'm going to quit my teaching job. He was stationed in Eder Oberstein. Casey, any idea what that army base is? I don't know. So he was somewhere in Germany. And so I thought, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to get a ticket to go to Europe for 3 months and go hang out with him. And he'll probably propose to me. And this will be so exciting. So I spent the summer in Nashville making as much money as I could. I worked 2 jobs. I lived with my friend Bethany, just looking forward to going to Europe. Maybe. I know he lived in Eder Oberstein was the name of the town, but he didn't live on base. So it could be Ramstein. That sounds familiar. And then he cheated on me. And it was like, oh, I can laugh about it now because he was not my person. But man, that was hard because that was like So it was so hard. Um, Ramstein spanked Ramstein sounds more familiar. Galen Kirchen. That's such a cool name. Um, yeah, he cheated on me with another person in the military, and I was just so devastated, but I already had a Eurail pass. I already had my plane tickets for 3 months, and I was like, "Well, I'm going anyway." And so I went to Europe anyway. And so I was like, to say that it was the first time in my life I had ever done anything crazy. I was the like quintessential like good girl, so to speak. Like I did pretty much everything that was expected of me. I got the best grades. I was, participated. I was president of this, president of that, and went to Europe and just lost my mind. Like I was just like, you know what? Nobody knows who I am and nobody has any expectations of me. And it was the most freeing thing of my life. And it's kind of interesting how things come around because my friend Megan, not the one I just went on a retreat with, but my friend Megan, she was the one who brought us to Dallas because we went to school together. We were very good friends at Vanderbilt. And when we were traveling around, she messaged me. Well, actually, we hadn't talked to each other in years, but she ended up being due with a baby the same time as I was due with Evie. And so we reconnected on Facebook. And then she was like, come to Dallas and we'll go to Gaylord Texan together. And then we just never left. So we get to see each other and our daughters are growing up as friends. But she met me my very first week in Europe in Amsterdam. You can imagine how that went. We had the craziest, most fun time ever. And I had never been so like just uninhibited, I guess, and just free. Like we danced till 4 a.m. We laughed, we giggled, we explored, like we just had the best time. And I remember just shortly after that, sitting on a bench in Germany when I had been traveling and just thinking, yeah, nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows what to expect from me. I don't have to pretend to be anything I'm not. I don't have to live up to anyone's expectations. I just get to be myself. And that was the most like freeing thing. And every Sunday I had to place, back in the day, because there were no cell phones. It's like you just have a card that has 5,000 numbers and you have to put it into a payphone. And I would always get it wrong. It would take me like 12 times to, oh, I love this. She's my boho spirit girly. It's so true. The anonymity, it's dangerous, I guess, if you're there by yourself, which I didn't realize, but it's also really fun. And I did go to Paris. I went to Paris and I went to Interlaken and I just like everywhere you could go on a Euro pass. I spent so much time in Budapest. It was my favorite city and I made a lot of friends there. And I didn't even rent a bike, but I was staying at a youth hostel in Budapest that was run by college kids, and they let me borrow a bike and I just traveled around the whole city. And remember writing in my journal in Budapest of like, I am so ready to tackle the whole world. Like, I feel like the whole world is just my oyster, And then I got on a train and I went to where would I go for, I'm like, Munich. Okay. I'm like, where's the German place where they have Oktoberfest? I was going to Italy because I had saved Italy for the last month of my trip because I was an opera singer and I was like, I'm going to go to every single opera I can get my hands on. Like, it's just going to be so much fun. And we were driving through Munich and somebody was like, oh, it's Oktoberfest. And I was like, that's weird because it's September. And they were like, yeah, but it's actually Oktoberfest is in September. And so I went to Oktoberfest. I had like a blast. I actually got to see some of my friends, like randomly ran into some of my college friends there. And then I went to Venice and then my whole life changed in a single day. And I think for a long time, it's like there's somebody had mentioned parts work. And I think this is probably something that I do need to do because I think for a long time, there's that free spirit part of me that was on a trajectory that just got like cut off in that moment of like, oh, you're not allowed to be free like this. You're not allowed to be happy. You need to go back to being who everyone expected you to be because this was dangerous and you were wrong for doing this. And now it's your fault that this has happened. And so I think bringing that kind of all the way back around is, that happening to me at like 23 years old changed the next 8 to 10 years of my life in such a dramatic and drastic way. And there's just a piece of my energy that is still stuck in that reality. And now that I am trying to move on to a new level, there is some part of me that's like, "Oh, this isn't safe for you." And it's coming back up and pushing me back down to one of those like moments of or fears of what if what if this isn't safe for me? What if I, by stepping into this new version of myself, put myself in some danger, right? Um, and that has, I think, been coming up a lot for me. And so every time I try to get myself motivated for all the things that I want to change and the new way of being and the new goals that I want to go after, there's this version of me, this part of me that's like, remember when you were really free and happy and this terrible, awful, dangerous thing happened to you? What if it happens again? And even though literally like talking about layers of an onion, I have been through a ridiculous amount of therapy and work on that situation. Here it comes right back again. And part of it triggered by this drama that happened on YouTube over the last week. And if you did not hear about it, just let it go because it's just bad. But it's just, how do you get over it? What do you do? And for me, I think the way forward is, for me, communication, talk about it. I talk about it. That's just what I do. I'm an open book. I talk about it, and talking about it processes it in a way for me. Second, telling myself in a million different ways that I am safe because my life is not like then, and I'm not taking those kinds of risks. And it wasn't my fault in the first place. Like I did the very best and the only thing that I could do at the time, which was acting according to my best information I had at the time. And because someone else hurts you, it is not your fault. And just continuing to tell myself that over and over and over again and continuing to believe it. And that's the best I can do. And I want to pick up that book. Someone mentioned The Mountain Is You. Is that Brianna Weist? I think is the name of that author, The Mountain Is You. I've heard that it's really, really good. So I want to pick that. I do have it on Kindle, so I'm going to read it. Number 2, The Parts Work, No Bad Parts. I do have that book. Someone's mentioned that several times to me, and somebody did email me about it. So thank you for everybody that's mentioned that. And I think part of the key is just like, when I was having a conversation with George about this, whatever day the most recent video had come out from that person, saying that they were sorry, and it really was triggering for me. I told George I think that's my biggest fear is like, what if this is all I could do, right? Like, what if this is the best I could ever get myself to, and there is nothing beyond this, because I will forever just be stuck in that regret, that day of getting hurt, just like that energy will just be stuck forever and I will never get over it. And that is a real possibility, I guess, in a way, but it's not entirely logical. And also, look how far I've come from that. Like, literally, look how far I've come from, like, yes, I've had a couple of days where I had to lay down because I was having such a difficult time. But there were also days back in early 2000s when I couldn't get up for a week straight. I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't be seen. I couldn't go to class. I just couldn't even get up to turn on music. Like was like a comatose person. There were weeks of that. And it's like, okay, if I can come from that, no matter if it took 20 years or 2 days, like, then there's always a little further that I can go. And whatever, for like, as long as I'm present and I'm with myself here in this moment, there's always healing that can happen. And I want to get over the part that, um, did you ever think that it was because you were so free and bright and on fire that it scared your attacker or mother detractor so much? Can you switch to putting that energy on them that way? Yeah, I do think that that is part of it. That feeling of like, when you're happy, you become magnetic. And so was my joy a magnet for someone to hurt, right? And so then it's like, well, I can't be my best magnetic happy self now because it is too dangerous and too scary. And, you know, it's not true, it's not logical, but sometimes your brain begins to believe it. I have done somatic work as well. I don't know if it's because I didn't do it long enough, but it never, like, a lot of people that teach somatic therapy will say, like, you're going to have a moment where you'll have a breakthrough and you'll cry and it'll release from your body. And I just am like, meh, never worked for me. I don't know if I just can't. Worked through that book with therapy. Like, there's probably like 1,000 things I have done. I've done EMDR, I've done RRT, I've done RTT, I've done, um, just pretty much all the things. um, but I am, um, I am just having a time where I am needing to be as clear as I can on being present, being grateful for what I have, being like the best version of myself that I can be, not because of a number of subscribers or a number of money or because of an outward accomplishment, but just because I'm giving myself grace when I need it, that I'm showing up when I need it, that I am taking the rest when I need it, and I'm giving myself grace for the days that I need to slow down. Um, but there is definitely a friction and a tension there sometimes of like wanting to be all I can be, but then also feeling like I'm not able to show up 100%. And then the tension between that and the inability to say, hey, I'm really struggling with some of these things. And that's why all of this isn't happening in the timeline that I wanted it to. And not trying not to feel guilty about that timeline needing to be extended or taking longer than it should, or, whatever, or like not being able to show up 100% in every single situation. But anyway, yeah, I think it's, oh, you will release it. What does it say? You will release it when the time is right, and our right time doesn't always coincide with the universe. Yeah. I think for the somatic stuff, it's like, how long do you have to do it before it starts coming back? Cause it's like 15 or 20 minutes of my day. And maybe I need a better teacher or something. Because it's just like, I can only do it for so long before I'm like, this does not work. Or something about me is blocked and I couldn't get it to work. But I know some people have worked with like cranial sacral therapy and somatic change and things like that. But I just haven't been able to find that release for myself with that type of therapy. But anyway, that's my emotional discussion about kind of what's going on right now. And I think for anybody that feels that sort of tension of like, I did feel this in the years after assault, so much of like wishing that when you are letting people down, when you are not showing up 100%, when you are naturally an achiever person and you know that you're not able to show up fully as yourself, you feel like you constantly need to be making apologies. Like you almost wish you could just like stand up and say, this is not the real me, but I can't right now. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way that I feel a little bit right now. And it's not dramatic. It's just a little bit of like, I'm trying to show up. I've had such a hard time posting to Instagram. I've had a hard time getting videos together for heart breathings. I've had a hard time sending out emails. And I'm just like, okay, have to take a step back and say, let's just let's just hold space for myself and do the best that I can. But I did not cancel coffee chat today, and I'm sorry if it was too emotional for some people, that didn't want to hear it today. But this is just sometimes our coffee chats are therapy sessions. What do we do? Um, but anyway, thank you, Angela. Yeah, over apologizing, being a people pleaser. Well, it's kind of like I know I'm capable of more than this, and I know that I'm not living up to who I want to be. And it is that people pleasing, but it's also the overachieving side, the perfectionist side of like I know I can do better, but I just don't have the energy to right now. Um, so, do you feel that perhaps someone has put that block on you? Not sure how to explain it. I don't feel like that, but that would be interesting if it did. When I had when I had that other person attacking me online, just a few years ago, I did do a lot of curse breaking type spell work stuff. So I don't think that there has been any spell that would be still standing 25 years later, but yeah, put your mom's name in the freezer 100%. But yeah, might not be a bad thing to do. But yeah, I think so it's like, okay, how if this is where you are and you're struggling to a degree, there's that feeling of like just trust yourself and your own intuition of like, am I ready to start moving forward yet or not? Do I need more break or not? And sometimes, it's a truth that if you try to push yourself before you're ready, um, I have my mom's name in the freezer with peppers and vinegar. I would love to hear more about that story. But like sometimes trying to pick yourself up again is not good for you because it's actually pushing you and you're not taking the rest and the healing that you need. And then sometimes if you allow yourself to rest and slow down too much, you just will be stuck there for longer than you want. And it's very difficult to regain momentum. And what I have learned to do and am still learning to do throughout the healing process is try to understand intuitively when is it right for me to take breaks and just disappear and slow down, and regardless of what balls have to drop, and when is it right for me to try to pick myself up again. And I'm feeling after a few weeks of darker feelings, I am feeling ready to pick myself up again. And I'm hoping that we will see some sunshine coming up. And I'm also feeling like it's time to try to rebuild some of that momentum for myself, but I think it's going to have to be gentle rebuild. Because if I try to jump back in full force, I can intuitively feel like I'm just going to burn myself out. If I am trying, I think the key is like, I don't want to try to be something I'm not right now. I just have to show up as I am. And what sucks about the internet and algorithms is you are not rewarded on Instagram for disappearing for 2 weeks or for slowing down. You're only rewarded for more content, right? In terms of the algorithm and growth and all that stuff. And I just am at a point where I'm like, well, then screw the growth, right? Like, I'm growing in a different trajectory, right? I'm growing in a personal trajectory that is difficult to measure. And if that means the algorithm slows, that means the algorithm slows. And if that affects my business or it affects my audience or, anything, then it does. Yeah, I do think this is probably true. Like I was so determined that I was going to get Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw out in October after working on it for so long that I pushed really, really hard in October, and my body just gave out in December or in November and came down with the flu and forced me. And I'm still, or not flu, but pneumonia. I can feel stuff like junk in my lungs from that pneumonia. And I had no idea it could last 3 or 4 months. Like I had no idea. So I haven't fully rested as much as I, wanted or need to, but I'm working on it because the engine does not slow. And I basically am running multiple businesses at this point and don't really have the foundations that I need for systems to pull someone in very quickly. But we cannot live our lives by the algorithms. And yet so many of us do. And when you run your business online or multiple businesses, it does sometimes feel like you have to be paying attention to that. But I just really like, I'm just feeling more and more like, yeah, you're right. You can't live your life by that. And like, I know from experience with us as a community here that there have been times when I was traveling or other things that I'm like, I can't meet up with you. Like I haven't done Twitch streams since October, I think. Like I had coffee chats weeks and weeks that we couldn't do coffee chats. And yet when I was able to get back on it, you guys are still here because we have built something that is more than just an algorithm, right? And that I think is the thing that keeps coming back to me is like, I'm trying to build something more authentic. And sometimes when I think about, okay, well, then why did I go through some of those things? Why did I have to struggle through so much? And why did, like, what is my purpose here? And I know that part of my purpose is to tell stories because I'm passionate about that. But I also feel very strongly that a big part of my purpose for existing is to help people, usually women, especially, but not exclusively women, but people like me who want very badly to achieve things that make you feel fulfilled, that feel like you're pouring your heart out, or that you're making a difference in the world, or that you're making a difference in your family or your community. But we're just people who want to be fulfilled and happy and to seek things on a deeper level. And I feel so strongly that like part of why I was made is to share the things that I'm learning and that I'm going through so that you, number one, know you're not alone. And number two, hopefully you feel inspired in some way to keep going. And if I could just figure out what that magical equation was of being able to get over your past or get over your fears or, actually go after your goals and be able to follow through without resistance and self-sabotage, then that will be my life's goal. I am not going to stop until I get there. But I feel like that was a big part of why I'm here. And that means building community beyond just the stories, building community beyond just the algorithm and let me do something that's going to go viral. Like I don't think I've ever had a viral moment, not with my books, not with my videos, nothing. And that it's okay. Like I don't need that in order to reach the people that were meant to be a part of this. So I hope you know how much I appreciate you, that you're here on Fridays, or that you watch this on the replay at the end of your weekend, or if you're listening to this in the car, or whatever, however you hang out with us, because it means a lot, not only to be able to share the truth of what I'm going through, but also just to know I'm not alone, to be a part of a community of people who are seekers and deep feelers and all those things. So oh my gosh, I'm so excited to get back to this story. How many people are here because of the algorithm? Yeah, that is actually interesting. So many people, it's like word of mouth, or people that were looking for stuff to do during the pandemic. I appreciate you too. Thank you guys for listening. I know some people had to duck out because it was too emotional, and I apologize. I did not come today planning to be super emotional. I just was like, we're just gonna chat, and whatever comes out will come out. And I trust always that it will all work out. Through the 2023 Nano Planner, George is working right now on the Rough Draft Challenge website and stuff for April, so that will be coming up soon. HardyCon is in full swing. It's happening in about a month. So if anybody wants to come to HardyCon, which is my New Orleans event, I am closing registration on the 1st. So you have a week left to join. Oh, Bethany sent you here. That is very sweet. I'm glad to know that. Yay, all the planner stuff, Erin Condren. I love it. I love it. And yeah, so it's like, I think that it's what is meant for you will come. Soon is a strong word. Well, it'll be available when it's available, and we will keep moving forward. Oh my gosh, for your sister, I love that. That's so sweet. But yeah, I think a lot of people are feeling big emotions, and I hope that you're not alone. And I do apologize if it was too much. Maybe I should put a little trigger warning at the top of the comments for people coming to watch. I did pick up my mail, Sally, but I didn't see anything from Australia this time. Is it possible it's not arrived? And if it has arrived, I need to call them because they did follow me out to say that they had found another package, so it's possible it's there. If you have tracking on it, let me know if you know for sure it's here, because I didn't get anything from you this time. But it doesn't mean it's not there. There have been things that I've gone back to and they've been like, oh, we missed this one because it's a UPS store and I tend to have a lot of mail. So if you know for sure it's there, then if you can send me a tracking number, then I can go in and look for it. But if it's not, maybe it's still on its way. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh. Let me just close this up, this super emotional thing by saying, let me just say thank you for allowing me this space to be vulnerable and to share this, because there's a part of me that's like, gosh, if you keep sharing this and telling this story, there's going to be like a feeling of, oh, you're complaining, or like, I'm just tired of hearing you, rehash whatever. But sometimes that is part of the healing process, is going back to the same things and looking at it from a new light and healing it in another layer of the onion and keep peeling it off and keep moving forward. And hopefully this transformation that I'm going through right now will somehow radiate, like radiant. We got radiance going here, will inspire you to think about things that you need to think about. But either way, even if you're not going through hard times, thank you so much for being here and just listening. Thank you, Taryn. But just know that you're not alone, that we're all in this together. And there are probably lots more coffee chats, emotional coffee chats coming up. And there also are lots more fun times coming because, I am actively writing A Mirror of Shadows, and I'm hoping right now that we will begin reading it in the first week of April. And those chats will be on Tuesday, Thursday at this same time. So that will be 6 weeks of reading per book. And I'll present a schedule. And for those of you and the curators, the title. We are going to do some reading sprints as well this week for curators. If you guys want to join in, I will let you know in the community tab there. Oh my gosh, you had an earthquake. Lisa, where are you? Where are you? Now I've got to know, but thank you everybody for being here. Thanks for just all the good stuff. We need to watch this on Netflix together. Yeah. Thanks for letting me be emotional and not super high energy today. And I'm looking forward to next week where we'll hopefully be getting a good fresh start going for March. But yeah, hopefully everybody's okay. Lisa, I'm not sure. Oh, you're in Vancouver. Oh my gosh, Vancouver. Hopefully everything's all good. Now I got to go watch the news. All right. All my love to you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Thanks for being here and thanks for listening. And I will see you all next week in Coffee Chat, but also for those of you in the Broken Chapter Society at the curator tier, be on the lookout because we're going to do some reading sprints this next week coming up. All right. I love you guys. Have a good weekend, everybody.